Have you ever felt that sometimes Christmas seems more like a reminder of what's missing rather than what truly matters? Between the flashy commercials and endless gift lists, it's easy to get lost in the idea that happiness requires luxury or grand gestures. But what if I told you that the true spirit of Christmas might be hiding in the most unexpected places, ready to change lives with just a touch of magic? This is the story of Anna, a woman who believed that Christmas had lost all its meaning. With no money, far from her family, and carrying the weight of a tough year, she was about to face the holiday as just another empty day. But life, with its peculiar way of surprising us, was preparing a gift that no mall could offer. If you think miracles only happen in movies or that Christmas is only for those who have everything, wait until you hear this journey. A small star, an unlikely encounter, and a simple dinner change everything. And the lesson? Perhaps the greatest gift we can receive doesn't come in a box, but in the moments we least expect. It was a cold December night, and the Christmas lights adorned the streets as if trying to hide the emptiness Anna felt inside. She walked slowly, her hands tucked in her pockets, trying to shield herself from the biting wind that seemed to mock her situation. The glow of the storefronts, filled with presents and promises of happiness, only added to the weight in her chest. After all, how do you celebrate Christmas when everything around you feels so distant and out of reach? Anna was a strong woman, but that year had tested her resilience in every way. Bills piled up like snow on a roof, and the job that promised stability vanished as quickly as autumn leaves. The idea of returning to her hometown was an impossible dream. The distance between her and her family was not just geographical, but emotional as well. It was as if Christmas had turned into just another day, without magic, without hope, without miracles. Still, there was something in Anna that refused to give up completely. Maybe it was a stubborn spark of hope, or just a desire not to lose herself entirely. As the bells rang in the distance, she found herself thinking how nice it would be if, just for a moment, life gave her a gift, an unexpected gesture, a sign that things could get better. But that night, the only certainty was the loneliness that accompanied her like an old friend. Every step down the lit-up streets was a mix of memories and shattered dreams. She remembered past Christmases, filled with laughter and the scent of fresh food, when the biggest problem was deciding which movie to watch. Now, everything seemed so distant, as if it belonged to another life. The sparkling decorations seemed to mock her melancholy, as if happiness was reserved only for those who could afford it. But life, as unpredictable as ever, has a peculiar way of bringing the unexpected. As Anna turned a corner, lost in thought, her eyes were drawn to something that seemed out of place in the vibrant landscape. An elderly man, standing next to a closed store, was looking around as if he was searching for something or someone. He looked lost, almost as lost as Anna felt at that moment. For a moment, Anna hesitated. After all, she had enough problems to deal with, right? But there was something in the man's expression, a mix of confusion and sadness, that made her stop. Maybe, she thought, helping someone was a way to forget her own pains, even if just for a few minutes. So, she took a deep breath and took the first step toward him. Little did Anna know that this simple gesture was about to change everything. The encounter that seemed so casual, almost insignificant, was actually the beginning of something much bigger, something she couldn't yet understand, but that held the power to transform not just that night, but her entire life. After all, as she would soon discover, Christmas has its own ways of making miracles happen. Anna approached the man with cautious steps, like someone afraid to interrupt something sacred. He was elderly, his white hair tousled by the wind, and he held a small hat as if it were a shield against the cold. His eyes, despite their tiredness, had a peculiar sparkle, almost as if they were filled with stories begging to be told. "Are you okay, sir?" Anna asked, her voice echoing down the deserted street. The man, who introduced himself as Eduardo, seemed relieved that someone had noticed him. He explained in a somewhat bewildered tone that he had gone out to buy something but ended up getting lost among the decorated streets. "These lights, they confuse us, don't they?" he said, letting out a laugh that sounded more sad than funny. Anna smiled, shaking her head in agreement, while thinking about how Christmas seemed to disorient people in different ways. As they talked, Eduardo shared that he lived alone in a nearby neighborhood and that, although he loved Christmas, he always felt something was missing. "Maybe it's the fact that gifts never reach those who really need them," he commented, more to himself than to Anna. That sentence echoed in her mind, as if it were more than just a casual observation. There was something about this man that piqued her curiosity, as if he carried a bigger secret than he appeared to. Anna offered to help him find his way back, and Eduardo accepted with a shy smile. As they walked, he began asking questions about her, something Anna hadn't expected. She hesitated, but eventually shared a bit of her own story. She talked about recent challenges, the loneliness that seemed to grow each day, and the feeling of being lost, not just in the streets but in life. Eduardo listened attentively, without interrupting, as if every word was precious. The exchange of stories turned that encounter into something unexpectedly comfortable, almost magical. It was as if both of them, in different ways, were searching for something they couldn't name. The silence between sentences wasn't heavy, but filled with meaning, as if the lights around them were witnesses to something special. For the first time in a long while, Anna felt seen, truly seen, by someone. When they finally arrived at his destination, Eduardo stopped in front of a wooden gate and looked at Anna with a warm smile. "You know," he said, his voice full of gratitude, "it's not every day you meet someone willing to stop and listen. Maybe that's the greatest gift Christmas can give us." Anna smiled, but before she could respond, Eduardo invited her inside. He said he was organizing a special dinner and would love to have her as a guest. Anna hesitated, feeling a mix of surprise and disbelief. But there was something in the way Eduardo looked at her, as if that invitation was more than just a simple meal. Without knowing exactly why, she accepted. And as she walked through the gate, a new feeling took hold of her heart. The possibility that Christmas still held some hidden miracle in its simplicity. As she stepped through the gate, Anna felt an unexpected wave of warmth, not just from the cozy air escaping Eduardo's house, but from the sound of laughter and voices filling the space. It was as if that place, hidden among so many lonely streets, was a small sanctuary of joy. She didn't expect to see other people there, but to her surprise, there was a small table decorated simply, surrounded by friendly and welcoming faces. Eduardo introduced Anna to everyone, and she quickly realized that these people were as different as they could be. There was a young musician with a guitar in his hands, an elderly woman who seemed to have endless stories to tell, and even a child with curious eyes and a shy smile. "Everyone here has something in common," Eduardo said as he filled the table with steaming dishes. "This is a place for those seeking a piece of hope and good company, even when the world seems to have forgotten us." Anna sat down, a bit shy at first, but was quickly drawn into the conversations around her. Each person there seemed to have a unique story, filled with challenges and triumphs. The elderly woman, named Martha, talked about how she had lost everything after a hurricane, but found solace in helping children at a local shelter. The musician, in turn, spoke about how melodies saved him from loneliness. It was impossible not to be moved by those so authentic narratives. As they ate, Eduardo made sure to create an atmosphere that was more than just about food and conversation. He suggested that everyone share something they were grateful for, and the table fell silent for a few moments. When it was Anna's turn, she hesitated. After all, what could she say in such a difficult year? But looking around, she saw Eduardo's kind eyes and felt a strange warmth in her chest. "I think I'm grateful to be here," she said, and the sound of approval she received was like a hug. Between laughs and stories, Anna noticed something curious. Eduardo was more than just a generous host. He seemed to have a unique ability to connect people, to make them feel important even amidst their pain. It was as if he was a thread stitching those so different lives into a single tapestry. And although she couldn't explain why, Anna felt there was something deeply special about him, something she still didn't fully understand. As the night went on, Eduardo revealed that the dinner was a tradition he had maintained for years. "I've always wondered why we have to be surrounded by luxury or crowds to feel the spirit of Christmas," he said, looking at the lit-up tree in the corner of the room. "Maybe the true gift is simply being with people who remind us that we're not alone." Anna heard those words as if they were directed exclusively at her, and something inside her began to change. At the end of the meal, Eduardo announced that he had something special prepared for everyone. He lifted a small wooden box, decorated with red ribbons, and said he had found that gift a long time ago, but never knew whom to give it to. "But today," he said, looking directly at Anna, "I think I've finally found the right person." Her heart raced, and the room seemed to hold its breath. What could be in that box? And why? As Eduardo handed the present to Anna, the room seemed to be enveloped in a kind of silent anticipation. All eyes were on her, but there was no rush. Eduardo suggested she keep the gift open at the right moment, leaving a mystery in the air that only heightened everyone's curiosity. Anna held the small box carefully, as if it were something precious. That gesture, so simple yet so full of meaning, seemed to be more than just an exchange of gifts. It was almost like a ritual. The conversation flowed naturally again, and Anna, for the first time in months, felt part of something bigger. With each story she heard, she understood a little more about what Christmas truly meant. It wasn't about expensive gifts or extravagant parties, but about connection, empathy, and small gestures that brightened even the darkest days. The young musician shared how a stranger had given him his first guitar, while Martha reminisced about a Christmas when an unknown neighbor brought her a hot meal when everything seemed lost. Anna watched Eduardo closely. He wasn't just a generous man, but someone who deeply understood the value of the little things. It was as if he knew that the true miracle of Christmas lay in moments that often went unnoticed by many. The stories around the table confirmed this. Each person there had a memorable experience involving unexpected kindness. And somehow, all these experiences seemed to converge that night. When Eduardo began to share his own story, the room fell silent once more. He talked about how he had lost his wife many years ago and how it nearly made him give up believing in Christmas. But one day, while walking down empty streets, he came across a crying child. He helped her find her parents, and in that moment, he felt something inside him change. "I realized that Christmas wasn't about what we lost, but about what we can give, even when we're broken inside," he said, his eyes shining. Anna felt a lump in her throat. This wasn't just a dinner. It was a powerful reminder that even in the toughest times, love and generosity could transform everything. She began to see the Christmas lights differently, no longer as a painful reminder of her struggles, but as a symbol of hope and renewal. It was strange how that small group of people, so different from one another, had come together to create something so special. As the night progressed, Eduardo proposed a simple activity. Everyone should write down something they wanted to leave behind that year on a small piece of paper, as a way to make room for new beginnings. Anna hesitated but ended up writing one word: fear. She folded the paper and placed it in a jar along with the others. Seeing the encouraging smiles around her, she felt as if an invisible weight had been lifted from her shoulders. There was a lightness in the air now, as if the entire room was wrapped in a subtle glow. Anna knew that, regardless of what the future held, that night would be etched in her memory. But there was something more, something she couldn't name, something that seemed to be approaching. And as her eyes fell on the small box in her hands, she couldn't help but wonder, what secret did that gift hold? The small box rested in Anna's hands, emanating a strange kind of warmth. It wasn't just the touch of the aged wood, but something that seemed to come from within, as if the gift had its own energy. Eduardo looked at her with a serene smile, but there was something in his eyes that carried the gravity of the moment. Everyone at the table waited in silence, as if they knew that this was more than just a simple present. Feeling her growing curiosity, Anna finally decided to open it. Carefully, she untied the red ribbon and lifted the lid of the box. Inside was a small gold star pendant, accompanied by an old photograph. The image, slightly faded by time, showed a young couple with a child in their arms, all smiling with genuine joy. Anna frowned, feeling a strange familiarity with the photo. She held the pendant, and a chill ran down her spine. It was as if that object had a story she still didn't understand. Eduardo watched attentively, and after a few seconds, decided to break the silence. "This star has a special meaning to me," he said, his voice low but full of emotion. "I found it many years ago, on a night that changed my life. I always felt it was meant for someone specific, but I never knew who until today." Anna looked at him, intrigued. His words seemed loaded with something she still couldn't decipher, but the mystery only deepened. Anna turned the photo in her hands, noticing something written on the back. The handwriting was firm and old, and the message read, "For our little star, who will always find their way home." She read the words aloud, and the room was filled with a profound silence. Something inside Anna stirred, as if forgotten memories were trying to emerge. She looked at Eduardo with eyes full of questions, but before she could speak, he gently placed a hand on hers. "I knew this message was for you," Eduardo said, his voice breaking slightly. "When I saw you that night, something told me you were the person the star was waiting for." Anna felt tears burn in her eyes, not quite knowing why. That connection was as unexpected as it was overwhelming, as if something greater was at work. But how did he know? And why did that gift feel so incredibly personal? As Eduardo's words echoed in Anna's mind, a distant memory began to form. She remembered a similar box she used to see at her grandparents' house many years ago, and how her grandmother always talked about the guiding star. The idea seemed absurd, but the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. Could that gift really be a missing link in her own story? And how could Eduardo be connected to it? Eduardo's eyes were full of emotion, but he said nothing more, as if he wanted Anna to come to the conclusion on her own. As she looked at the pendant, she couldn't deny the overwhelming feeling that something deeply significant was happening. That gift, which seemed to have come from heaven, wasn't just a symbol. It was a crucial piece of a puzzle she was still putting together. And deep down, she knew the answer was closer than ever. Anna held the pendant and the photo with trembling hands as her heart raced like never before. Something inside her seemed to be falling into place, but there were still pieces missing. She looked at Eduardo, and curiosity, mixed with a slight desperation, showed in her voice. "You knew! You knew all along?" she asked, unable to hide her emotion. Eduardo took a deep breath, like someone preparing to reveal a secret kept for years. "I wasn't sure until tonight," he began, his voice calm but laden with emotion. "When I saw you, something in your eyes reminded me of someone I lost a long time ago. My daughter, Emily. She disappeared when she was young, taking this star with her. It was as if life had ripped something precious from me, and since then, I've kept this box hoping that one day she would find her way back." Anna widened her eyes, feeling the ground disappear beneath her feet. Emily. That name had a strange resonance in her mind. Anna tried to speak, but the words seemed stuck in her throat. Faint memories began to emerge, like fragments of a forgotten dream. She remembered her mother, always so reserved when it came to the past, and how she spoke little about her grandparents. Eduardo continued, as if he felt the need to fill the growing void between them. "When I saw you on that corner, lost in your own thoughts, something told me that the miracle I had been waiting for so long was finally here." The silence in the room was absolute, but the emotional weight was palpable. Anna looked at the photo again, now with a different perspective. The faces in the image were familiar, not just because of the physical resemblance, but something deeper, something that touched her soul. "I don't know how this is possible," she said, her voice wavering, "but I feel that it makes sense somehow." As if Christmas brought all of this together for a reason, Eduardo stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Anna's shoulder. "I don't know what life did to separate us, But I do know that it also has a mysterious way of fixing what's broken, he said, his eyes shining with tears he didn't bother to hide. You are the missing piece in my life, Anna. And somehow, I feel that the star knew this all along. The revelation was overwhelming, yet it brought a sense of peace. Anna began to piece things together in her mind. Small details from her childhood, the fragmented stories her mother told. Everything started pointing to a truth she never imagined possible. It was as if, in some inexplicable way, she and Eduardo were connected by invisible threads that were now finally intertwining. The room was filled with a reverent silence, but the emotions were so vivid they seemed to fill every corner. Anna looked at Eduardo, and for the first time that night, she truly smiled. There was a new warmth in her heart, a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. But as she allowed herself to feel that moment, she knew there was still more to discover. After all, if all of this was true, what other miracle might Christmas be holding in store? The room seemed to breathe along with everyone present, as if each person knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. Anna and Eduardo remained silent for a moment, sharing a look that said more than any words could. It was as if the weight of years of unanswered questions and lonely paths had finally been lifted. The star in her hand, so small and delicate, seemed to hold the strength of their entire encounter. Eduardo, his voice still trembling, looked around and said, "I've always believed that Christmas is the time when miracles happen, but I never thought I'd see one so clearly." The others, who had been respectfully silent until then, began to applaud softly, as if wanting to seal that moment with a celebration. Anna, still holding the gift, didn't know whether to cry or smile. Maybe she did both, because in that instant, she felt whole in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. The following hours were filled with laughter, stories, and a warmth that didn't just come from the fire in the hearth. Eduardo, visibly moved, shared more about Emily and how her absence had shaped his life. Anna, in turn, spoke about her own journey of challenges and loneliness, each word weaving the fabric of a connection that seemed destined. "I feel like I didn't come here by accident," she said in a moment of introspection. "It's as if Christmas has been guiding me to this place." At the end of the night, Eduardo asked everyone to make a toast. He raised a simple glass, but one full of meaning, and said, "To second chances, reunions, and the miracles that remind us we're never alone." His words resonated in Anna's heart like a familiar melody, something she had always wanted to hear but didn't know she needed. The toast was followed by warm hugs and promises that this Christmas would mark the beginning of something new for everyone there. When the dinner ended, Eduardo pulled Anna aside and said, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know you'll always have a place here, no matter what happens." Anna felt a lump in her throat, but responded with a genuine smile. "I think I found what I was looking for without even knowing I was searching." Eduardo smiled, and in that moment, they weren't just two people. They were a family rebuilding itself, piece by piece. As she left the house, Anna looked at the lit-up streets in a completely different way. The cold was still there, but it felt less harsh, as if the warmth of the night had stayed with her. The star hung delicately around her neck, a symbol of what that night had brought. It wasn't just a gift. It was a promise that miracles happen, even when everything seems lost. And as Anna walked home, something inside her said that this was just the beginning. Christmas has a peculiar way of transforming lives, and now she was living proof of that. With each step, she felt the weight of loneliness being replaced by something much bigger: hope. After all, miracles aren't just moments. They are changes that remind us of what truly matters. And now, after experiencing this emotional journey, the question remains, what does Christmas really mean to you? Are we looking in the right places when we seek miracles? Anna discovered that, often, the greatest gift lies in human connection, unexpected generosity, and the hope we insist on maintaining, even on the darkest days. And you? Are you ready to let the true spirit of Christmas transform your life? Think about how you can create small miracles in your daily life. Maybe it's a call to someone you miss, a simple gesture to help a stranger, or even a moment of reflection to understand what truly matters. What can you do today to make someone's Christmas or your own unforgettable? If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we always have stories that inspire, move, and remind us of the power of love and faith. Join us on this journey, and together we can discover how small gestures have the power to transform lives. Until the next story, and may your Christmas be filled with miracles and meaning.